I'm admittedly just a little bit tired of being under this Jeep. But to move forward with the plan to get the stopping thing figured out, I have got to get this backing plate off. One of the important parts of this backing plate is, as I mentioned in a previous video, the anchor over on this side for the brake shoes. Unfortunately, that anchor broke off at some point and this thing's passed, so I don't have one of those. In order to put a new one on this guy, I have to pull this thing off, clean it up a little bit, and take it to, I'm not quite sure yet. I have to find a local fab shop, sympathetic person with a welder that can tack it on for me, etc. So that remains to be figured out. But tack the new anchor on and then start putting this thing back together, getting all the new components put on and such. So that's the plan for today, hopefully. Let's see how that goes. I need a better place for this light. If only there was a cross support, right there. I could just hang that right there and it'd be perfect. Rust. Well, I wanted to record more of this to give you guys a few tips and tricks along the way. Unfortunately, there's just not enough room in here for a camera. I don't really have a tiny little tripod. So the short version is we had a short, long set of bolts. These go into the transfer case, of course. This is why you drain it first. Pumpkin Spice SAE 90. We meet again. Smack the backing plate here. It's loose, but there's just so much, gunk and grime from decades on here that I'm having trouble getting it to move. Meanwhile, it bleeds rusty, nasty oil everywhere. So I'm going to try to knock this thing off real quick and close this back up. Get a vintage Jeep, they said. It'll be great fun, they said. You'll get a lot of interesting looks. It'll be fun. They obviously didn't realize it would smell like this. I think there's supposed to be a gasket on the back of this. And I see bits of one here and here. I also see some kind of picture. So that looks like it might have just been a magazine cover or something that someone threw on here to use as a gasket. Great. Alright. 20 minutes of trying to knock that loose, and we have labored to produce a pretty grody backing plate, now covered in the aforementioned Pumpkin Spice SAE 90, and it stinks. So I guess that old anchor, I don't know how that was attached. Was it just welded? I don't know. The dirt daubers did get evicted. So I guess I've got one more to take off because I've tried to film this thing. Jeez. I've tried to remove that screw. It's not budging. So luckily I have a new one of these adjuster things that holds it in place. I might actually need it. Let's get this over to the old parts washer, kitchen sink, excuse me, the old parts washer, see if I can preserve some of that gasket to have a template, and I'll get myself a little do-it-yourself new gasket until I can get a proper gasket with the full rebuild set. All right, we're back at the parts washer. I've already scrubbed this poor guy down outside with some degreaser and such. This is the improved version. It did not really do much. So I'm trying to figure out what to do here. I need to try to save that gasket, so I'm going to hope the emulsifying properties of this plain old, I think it's just Dawn dish soap, will help me carefully release with this this excuse of a gasket. Literally, it looks like it's not a newspaper, but like a magazine cover or something. There's a picture on it, but I can't really make out what it is. But I want to go get a putty knife, and we're going to try to carefully remove that guy so I can use it as a template. Putty knife, meh. One of these is probably a better choice. Come on. Intact, please. Well, the other half of that is still on the transfer case, so that's as intact as I can hope. There you go. I don't know if that's working better or worse than I'd hoped. Really? That's all that was on this side? That's not a lot to go on, is it? Maybe there is some more hidden on this side, yes. I know there are chunks of it still on the transfer case. That's turning out no good. So I'm going to be buying a new gasket. Yeah, because I don't know if you can see it over there. There's just not quite enough of that one left. And I don't think those two pieces, nope. So that's not enough to go on. So, I'll focus on cleaning. Well, that is probably the cleanest my hands have been in a few days, weeks-ish. But there we go. One hand washed, scoured, scrubbed, brake backing plate. Now you're probably thinking, why didn't I just sandblast it? That would have been so much quicker. Might have wasted a little bit of sand, but that would have been so much quicker and way more satisfying. Well, I don't quite have a sandblaster. Kind of wish I did. The reality is just that I live in suburbia in a house with a garage on a hill, and I have limited space. I would love to live out in the country somewhere where I actually had room for a shop. I could have some metalworking gear set up, some woodworking gear set up, a nice blasting cabinet, maybe even a small scale kind of powder coating setup, because this is probably a good candidate to be just powder coated black or something. Hey, we can actually see something. 4765 something Bendix. So I guess Bendix is the manufacturer, and there's actually still some original writing on this, buried beneath the grease, rust, etc. That's kind of nifty. I mean, in the end, I guess it doesn't matter all that much, because this is just going to be getting the same treatment the brake drum is, and that is the old scrub, and then it's going to get hit with a high temp primer and gloss black just to give it a little bit of protection, and maybe it won't rust out too far. Maybe it'll last another 70 years, I don't know. But that, I think I'm going to have to come back and wire wheel that up, maybe hit it with a file or something, clean that up enough that if I take it to a welder, there's good clean metal for them to clamp onto, and there won't be any grease or other debris in that hole, and I can get a good solid weld, because this is going to be an important piece, having that anchor there so that I can long term have a parking brake, or it's listed as an emergency brake, so of course it'll sure stop the transfer case from moving if you're up to speed. But yay, backing plate. That was kind of rough, but not as bad as I thought it might be. On to the next thing.